We back, baby. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss a thing. You are now tuned into the system behind the system. Welcome back to the DaVinci podcast. And on today's episode, we are going to discuss what it looks like to take your dreams and make them your reality. There's a whole protocol, there's a system, there's a science behind turning what thoughts and ideas come to mind and developing that into something actually tangible that you can integrate into your life. Everybody's got ideas, but not every idea do we bring into actuality. Do we actually fulfill? Today, I want to break down a system and a protocol that I call the dream protocol in bringing some of those thoughts and ideas into reality. Let's get started. So everybody has a dream. It's not just Martin Luther King, right? If you asked any one of your friends or family members what their dreams are, they're going to have an answer for you. I guarantee it. We all fantasize and have ideas about how we want our future to look, whether it's in our family, we want to see our kids prosper, and we have a dream about how we want to see their lives turn out, in a positive way, whether it's in business or our career and our education. We plan for those things and we prepare and we dream and we think about what we want to see for ourselves financially so that we can have a brighter future and anything. Right? We all have some sort of dream and focus or goal that we're working towards or that we want to see for ourselves. So there's no shortage of dreams. Everybody has one. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has goals and things that they would like to see for themselves. So the question isn't, do you have a dream? The question is, what's your plan on bringing it about? So today, I want to introduce you to the Dream Protocol, a 4-step system that I've created that will help you take your dreams and make them your reality. So the other day, I was walking out of a restaurant and, I just had a great business meeting on some upcoming DaVinci products that we're creating. And as I was leaving, the person, they know me well. I've worked with them in the past. And they looked at me and they said, "Keep dreaming, Neo." I knew what they meant. I knew they weren't saying, "Keep dreaming. It's never going to happen. You might as well just forget about it." It wasn't that kind of keep dreaming. It was keep dreaming and never stop dreaming. But they also know that I put execution behind those dreams and I work relentlessly at bringing them about. And they liked some of the ideas that I presented to them during lunch. And so they said, keep dreaming, keep coming up with more ideas. But it doesn't stop there. So I'm going to share with you the 4-step process today. And this will help turn your dreams into your life. Number 1 is fantasize. That's the first step. You do gotta fantasize. You do gotta let your mind run wild and let your imagination flourish. Dream and keep dreaming and never stop dreaming. Always be dreaming, but don't stay there, but it starts there. There's a reason why, certain thoughts and ideas come to your mind because God has equipped you to be the one to bring it about. Right? He's brought you through everything that you went through so that you can learn what you needed to learn. And then you have certain thoughts and ideas come to mind. And it's for you to actually work on and bring about in your life for you. And sometimes the dream is actually sexier than the reality. I remember bringing about one of my long-term, dreams. And when I actually made it reality, I was like, dang, this don't look like the dream that I had in mind. This was not what I fantasized about. And the reality hit me. Sometimes the dream is better than the reality when you bring it about. So be prepared for that. For some of these dreams that you bring about, it may not look like what you fantasized about or the idea that you came up with. It may not look like the dream. So some dreams are better left at that state of just dreaming. You know, there's fun in that. There's enjoyment in that. But some dreams you need to bring into reality through execution. Ideas come a dime a dozen. We all have good ideas. You know, I'm sure everyone you know has had a good idea or two. You've had a good idea or two yourself. So it can't stop there because it don't matter how many good ideas you got. If you don't do nothing with those ideas, you might as well not even have had them. It was just, pleasure for your mind, which isn't a bad thing sometimes, but why not make it an actual reality? So you have to take it to that next step because ideas aren't profitable. The execution behind a good idea and turning it into something real is what's profitable. And to be honest with you, if it don't make money, then it don't make sense. Serious. It has to be profitable. If it don't make a profit, it don't make sense. Simply put. So after you get done fantasizing about the dream and letting your thoughts run until that forms in your mind fully, the next step is the formula. Create a formula. You want to have a plan, a blueprint as to how you're going to make this dream and this fantasy come about. That's the next step. You got to bring it from your mind and a good idea into the real world. The best way that I've been able to instantly begin bringing my thoughts and ideas and dreams into reality is just by writing it down. There's actually a study that says you're 42% more likely to make your dreams become reality if you write it down than if you didn't write it down. Like there was a study that was done that showed people who wrote their dreams down or their goals, they accomplished them 42% more likely than people who didn't write it down at all. And all they did was write it down. But what you do when you write down those goals and those ideas and those dreams is you're making it real instantly. Because up until that point, it only lives in your mind. You can flesh it out fully in your mind, the entire fantasy. But then when you write it down, it might just be like, I want to get a college degree. Okay, be more precise. Is that a 4-year degree? An 8-year degree? What field? You can start fleshing it out even more, and then you're drawing the picture already. You're bringing it into reality already. Create your formula. What's the plan? What's your blueprint? How are you going to actually make this happen? Because if it only lives in the fantasy, then that's all it is a fantasy. But if you can create a formula, now you're getting somewhere. And the easiest way is to just start writing it down. Even if it's one sentence. Some of the top entrepreneurs, man, they're known for writing every single day some of the thoughts and ideas that they have. And they're at the top of their game. Create yourself an entire plan. Last week we talked about precision, and we talked about how you can precisely create a structured plan to land on the exact outcome that you want. That's what this stage is right here, the formula, a precise formula. And let it cook a little bit, Don't just be in a rush to put something together because that's your plan, right? It's like cooking chicken stew. You might have 20 ingredients. And say, you had the idea you want to cook something that involves chicken. And so you're like, all right, I want to have these ingredients, and you're like, all right, I want these different spices, and we're gonna go with chicken and these veggies, and so on and so on and so forth. What is the temperature? How much water are you gonna need? How much chicken stock are you gonna need? Right? How much of every ingredient are you gonna need? That's your formula right there. And then chef it up. Cook. Let it cook a little bit. You don't want to rush that part either, because if you do, you're prematurely entering the execution phase. And don't get me wrong, I love to dream. I love to execute, and I'm not, the best at planning. I never really liked planning, but I've gotten better at it because I personally want to see things happen exactly how I've envisioned it. And I had to enter a planning phase in my life. I'm in the execution phase now, right? There was the dream phase where I just dreamed and dreamed and dreamed and dreamed, but I got nowhere. And I'm like, all right, well, this ain't working out. I got to do something here. So I entered the planning phase, and that was, creating the formula. What was all the materials that I need? What was going to be my step 1, step 2, step 3 plan? And then now I'm in the execution phase, right? But before, I had to actually hash out that formula. And look, sometimes you'll have a perfectly drawn out plan. All the details are in there, and all the materials you're going to need for the formula laid out, everything that's necessary to bring this dream into reality, you have written down, and you're prepared. But I just want to prepare you even further for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. Don't stay in fantasy land thinking it's going to just happen perfectly. It's one thing to like dream and, oh, this is going to be great. And yeah, this is such a great idea. And oh, I got the plan fully lined out. Just prepare for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be a bumpy road along the way to your destination. And you might have to reroute a little bit. And that's okay. When you're driving in your car and you're using the GPS and there's a traffic jam up, a mile ahead, and the GPS lets you know, now rerouting to avoid the traffic jam. You don't stop your car, pull over and say, oh, that's it, trip over, we're done, I give up. No, you let the GPS reroute and you keep going towards your destination. So when some of these obstacles and these roadblocks and these traffic jams come your way, just reroute and keep going towards your destination, because it doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay. Just prepare for it. Be prepared that it's going to happen, and keep going forward as you're bringing it about. So once you got the fantasy and then you make your formula, the next step is to framework it. You got to put it into something that actually makes sense, right? So you got this idea, you got this dream, you brought it into something tangible. You know what materials you need. You know what your plan is, and you've written it down. Now you have to configure all the details and the material, and bring it into what that dream looks like, right? And then the next step is then you got to actually lay the bricks. You got to do the work. This is usually the hardest phase. And I've seen a lot of people make it this far and even like almost to the end of the framework phase, and they ended up giving up. And there's this meme that goes around, of the guy with the pickaxe, and he's like chipping away at the rock, and you see, he covered so much ground, and then you see him turning around right before he got to the other side where all the diamonds were. Like he was almost there, and I get it. Like, it's hard work. It is. The building phase, the framework phase is where all the work is. That's where all the execution is. I've seen so many people give up on that phase, but keep dreaming. Like, don't stop. Don't ever give up on your dreams. You deserve to let yourself have everything that you dream about by putting in the effort on a regular basis to make that come about. The framework phase is the hardest part, but it's also the most creative part. That's where all the creative things happen. We think it's the dream and the fantasy phase. We think when we're, the most creative part is coming up with the ideas. But like I told you, everybody has ideas. The framework, that's where the painting actually lives. That's where you actually take the brush, dip it into the paints, and you get to work. That's where your artwork comes alive, for real. But yes, it's the toughest part, the framework phase. Be prepared to put some work in, but never give up on your dreams. Take them all the way to the last phase, and that's finish. Not everyone makes it to that phase. I've seen a lot of people give up halfway and not finish. And, sometimes all you got to do is hang in there a little bit longer. A little bit longer. Think of that meme. That guy was right there. There was just a sliver of rock left before he reached all the diamonds, and he turned around. That is a lot of people out here nowadays. Don't let it be you. I know it's tough. I know the framework phase is tough, okay? I was talking with a guy just yesterday, and he was telling me how it took him 10 years to get his business off the ground. And he was like, I'm just finally coming out of the part where, you're working, 16 hours a day and your stress levels are through the roof and, you barely get a whole meal in one day because you're going. And you wake up, you get to it all the way until the time you go to sleep, and then you just crash and then you repeat it the next day. And it's just tough. Like, it takes everything that you got. He was telling me he was just getting through that phase, and I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It's painful, yes. But to get to the other side, that's where all the reward is. That's where you finish. Finishing is there's a skill behind that. There's a crafting behind that. It's a special part of the protocol, of the dream protocol. That's where we're all trying to get to. And sometimes we just try to rush there. Just because you get it done doesn't mean it's done. Like, hone it, refine it, perfect it to your standards. You know how I feel about perfection. It's an opinion. So what's your opinion on what you're bringing about, on what you're building? What is 100% done, 100% completed? Finish, finito. What does that look like for you? That's the finishing phase. But make sure you do finish. Don't quit halfway through. I know that it's tough, but you've already gotten yourself this far in life. So keep going. All the things that you've been through, you made it through, and you're gonna make it through this as well. Like, you're resilient. You got the strength. Look how strong you have been and the strength you've demonstrated up until this point. You already know you're strong. Just think about all the things you've been through, and you're still standing. You haven't been out for the count. You're still here. You're going to get through this too. So finish. Make sure you bring it to 100% completion. Start with the fantasy and fantasize until you fully got it fleshed out in your mind. Then create your formula. Chef it up. Make sure that it tastes good. Then you got to build the framework. You got to actually do the work. Put in the execution that's going to bring that dream about. And then finish. That's the part we all want to get to. And it's the most fulfilling part. but it's the part that a lot of people don't actually reach. So make sure you finish. That's the dream protocol right there. Nice and simple. Fantasize, formula, framework, finish. It's that simple. Now, there is a lot of different things you're going to encounter along the way, but if you follow that 4-step process all the way to the end, your dreams are going to become your reality. Now, after you finish, the next thing to do is to keep dreaming. And that's the beauty of it all, right? Because once you take it through from fantasy to finish, keep dreaming. What's the next dream? You know? What is that next idea, that next goal that you're going to bring about? What's the next fantasy that you're thinking about already? So keep dreaming and never give up on your dreams. About 15 years ago, I started working on my health and all that good stuff. And as time went along, I was able to do more in my life. I was able to accomplish more in my life. So today I want to go over a few things that will help you optimize your sleep so that you can optimize reaching your dreams when you're awake. So some studies show a 20 to 30% reduction in our cognitive ability when we're not sleeping optimally. And that's not just the quantity, that's the quality. And if you know anything about me, I'm all quality over quantity. Quality first, right? I'd rather have one thing that's really high quality than 100 low quality things. That's just my thing, right? That's how I operate. So quality first, but we want to optimize that quantity too, because 100 high quality things, still better. You know what I'm saying? But how do you optimize that quality and that quantity so that we're not seeing that reduction and our cognitive ability is top notch so that we can flesh out and work out the dreams that we have into reality? My favorite by far is a pitch black room, dark room, no light. So this was one of the things that I did kind of early on when I was reading this book about sleep, and it said that a pitch black room has been known throughout evolution to give us better sleep. I tried it. I went and bought some blackout curtains, put them up. I covered some of the small lights in my bedroom, and my sleep has improved tremendously. That's my favorite one because that's the one that I personally noticed right away improved my sleep. I slept like a baby, right? Just by making the room darker. But the studies actually show that the light hits the skin or, hits the eyes and has an impact on our sleep. Yes, it actually hits the skin and your body knows that it's light outside and it doesn't optimize properly when it comes to the hormones, the sleep hormones and cortisol and whatever have you, right? All that good stuff. So all you got to do is just make it darker in the room and you'll get better sleep. Try it out. That's my favorite one. A really good one that we all need is to put the cell phone down an hour before we actually go to sleep. So studies show that the blue light from our phone and also just, being on the phone changes the chemicals in our brain, which impacts our sleep tremendously. So we got to give ourselves a break from the stimulation and the blue light on the phone as well, so we can prepare our mind and our body for a good night's sleep. So they say about an hour is all you need just to have your phone away from you before you go to sleep. But if you can only do 30 minutes, that's better than nothing. Work your way to an hour. And they actually got this blue light blocker now too. It's in the inside settings of the phones. I know it's called night shift or nighttime on iPhone, where you can set a timer for that blue light to automatically shift over into a more warmer red light And the red light is better for balancing the hormones and the chemicals in our brain and in our body, preparing us for sleep. So try that out. It's super easy. I set mine to 7 o'clock, several hours before I go to sleep. I don't mind it shifting over to red light. It's whatever, right? And like I hadn't noticed so much as a benefit to that, but the research shows that that has a drastic impact on our sleep quality. But why is that too, right? We're talking chemicals in the brain, and the phone can also disrupt the brain waves that our mind goes through when we're sleeping, and can stop us from getting to that deeper REM stage, that rapid eye movement stage of sleep, which we don't want, because that is the most reparative part. We actually have the most vivid dreams during that part. And yes, you dream while you're asleep, you dream while you're awake, right? We just covered a whole 4-step protocol to how to bring your dreams about while you're awake. But what are those dreams while we're asleep? In my opinion, the brain is just sifting through and organizing all the thoughts, ideas, interactions, stimulus that it had throughout the day. And that's why some of our dreams are weird, because there's like several different thoughts that the brain is working through, and it meshes them together. And it's like you're sitting on the back of a cow flying through the sky, right? Some weird stuff. So if you're using the cell phone before bed, it will disrupt that, and it'll make it less likely that you reach those deeper reparative states. Now, I got one more for you, and this one is super easy and simple. You want to just make the temperature in your room a little bit cooler. They say 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit is the optimal sleep temperature. And that doesn't mean you gotta be shivering all night. No, you can cover up. It's just your brain that needs to feel that cool temperature. And really you're thermoregulating the temperature that your brain sits in, so it can do the processes that it needs to do throughout the body. I tried that, and I automatically noticed an improvement in my sleep quality. All three of those together actually, and they're easy. This is low-hanging fruit stuff. I love the low-hanging fruit. You don't have to work too hard to grab it. It's usually the ripest, sweetest, best tasting fruit anyways, right? And it's easy. Go for the easy stuff that gives you the most benefit. Make the room dark. Put your phone away for 1 hour before bed and get it a little cooler in the room. Those three are my top favorite. There's a lot more out there, ways to improve your sleep so that you can improve that cognitive ability, as well as a whole bunch of other health aspects. There's actually studies that show that you can reduce inflammation very quickly just by optimizing your sleep quality. It's crazy. And I'll talk with somebody who are struggling to lose weight, and they've got exercise going, nutrition looking good, and the one thing that they need is sleep. And I'll help them crack that sleep, and boom, the weight starts dropping off. So you can actually lose weight and tone up just by sleeping better. So it goes well beyond just that cognitive ability, and all that stuff goes into play when it comes to reaching our dreams, right? Energy levels, helping optimize our schedule, getting sleep structured and managed, optimizes our schedule. It all works together because it's truly a system. Don't forget that. But there goes some low-hanging fruit that'll help you optimize your sleep quality so we can keep our minds sharp and keep those dreams formulating, and then creating our formula and making a plan, building that framework, and then finishing. You're more likely to finish bringing those dreams into reality if your body is in a healthier state. And I'm all about that. So what's your next dream? What's that next goal that you have, right? Because I want you to keep dreaming. After you achieve what you've been working on currently, after you bring that fantasy to the finish line, what's that next concept? Because you deserve to make all your dreams become a reality. And I hope this 4-step protocol makes it a little bit more precise in helping you bring each one of those about. And if you didn't know, that DaVinci Core Capsule is now available at DaVinciEngineered.com. There will only be 222 units in existence ever, and they're going quickly, so go pick yours up. Claim it today. It is a finely, precisely engineered hoodie and sweatpants set. It comes together as the set, so go check the vault out right now and pick you up one. I'll see you next week on the DaVinci Podcast.